So now y'all come into my kitchen. This is Cooking Today. Hi, welcome to Cooking Today. Glad you're here. Happy Wednesday to you. It's so hot outside. Can you even believe? Oh, I know y'all have probably heard me say it before, but I don't love to be hot. I sure don't, but that's just part of it, right? We just have to kind of survive August, right? It's because we're all getting ready for fall, and oh, don't you just ache for that so much? Fall's my favorite. Anyway, happy summer. I am making today a really fun Mile High. It has a long name. Mile High Mexican barbecue sweet potato. How about that? That's a long one, isn't it? But it's all of those things. Mile high because we're piling so many things on top of our sweet potato that it's a mess, and it's a fork and knife and a dig in, put your napkin in your shirt kind of meal. It is Mexican because we're putting black beans and corn and hatch green chilies and avocado and yummy stuff on it that are nods to Mexican food. We're putting a little barbecue on it because we're gonna squeeze some barbecue sauce on there, and then we've got pulled pork. I told you, you're gonna have to put your napkin in your shirt and get ready. Save your calories because this is a good one. It's loaded, and we're putting all of that on top of a sweet, yummy, tender, piping hot sweet potato that we've got baked in the oven. Mile High Mexican barbecue sweet potatoes. How about that? So let me tell you what we've got going on. Sounds good, doesn't it? Smoky, sweet, spicy from our hatch green chilies, creamy from our guacamole and our sour cream, and then that sweet base. Yes, you could do this on a regular sweet potato if you insist, on a regular white potato if you insisted, but the sweet is just the right bite under all that kind of heavy, greasy, spicy flavor that you're gonna love it. Okay, are you ready? So let me tell you what we have going on. I have got my pulled pork. Now, we've made pulled pork on this show before, as a matter of fact. Early on in our very first season, I made a pulled pork recipe. Where we braised it, we seared it on both sides, covered it in some really great homemade seasonings, and then we seared it, and then we braised it and cooked it down in the oven and pulled it. It has yummy onions. It's a little bit wet and delicious and tender. You can totally make that recipe. It is delicious. You can look it up in our archives. Or if you happen to go to a barbecue restaurant and you want to make this shortcut, then you can either bring home your leftovers, or you can run through and grab a couple pounds of pulled pork. And that makes this step, you know, kind of cuts a step and makes this really easy. So I actually have some pulled pork here that we picked up somewhere, okay? Now, ultimately, I think this might be about 1.5 pounds or 2 pounds. I've already been nibbling before we even started this show. It's so good. I think this is about 2 pounds. You're gonna need maybe 4 cups or so, perhaps. We're gonna make 4 sweet potatoes. So you want about a good heaping cup of pulled pork on top of each of your potatoes. But my gosh, go for it. I mean, I called it Mile High, so if you want to put even more on it, then nobody's going to stop you. So that is warmed and pulled, and we're just going to let that camp out. In the oven, we have our sweet potatoes, okay? And baking a sweet potato is very, very easy. And I'll tell you let's talk about first how to choose a sweet potato. So when we go to the grocery store, so often we get it in our minds, don't we, that bigger is better? We do. We always think, oh, a big squash, or oh, a big cucumber, or oh, a big sweet potato, or a big onion. Generally speaking, actually, a smaller or a medium potato is better than a bigger potato. So when I go to the grocery and I am choosing my sweet potatoes, now they're naturally gnarly and have all kinds of little things going on, but you want to do your best to spend some time and locate potatoes that are a little bit smoother and a little bit less funky looking. You know what I mean? Like sometimes they have gashes in them, or they have a weird place. or they've got a lot of sprouts. So do your best to find 4 uniform sized sweet potatoes so that when they bake in your oven, they kind of bake about the same speed rather than you having one big one and a little weird one and stuff like that. If you have 4 uniformly shaped and sized sweet potatoes in your oven, they're going to cook about the same speed and temperature. So all I've done on my sweet potato is I've gone ahead and just made sure there aren't any strange places. Naturally, sometimes there's just a little string, so I want those off. And then this is how easy it is to do a sweet potato in the oven. Clean it, dry it, poke some holes in it with a fork. Don't use a knife. And then all you have to do is lay it out. I'll grab mine that I've already got going in the oven. Lay them out on a foil-lined sheet pan. No foil or anything over them. Just laid open, 400 degrees for about 45 minutes to an hour, and that's it until they're tender. Easy as that. We've got 3 in the oven. We'll set this one over here, and then when we come back, we're gonna start on all of our yummy fixins for our mile-high Mexican barbecue sweet potatoes. This is cooking today. Hi, welcome back to Cooking Today. If you're just joining us, we're making mile-high Mexican barbecue sweet potatoes. Mile high because we're gonna load it on with a lot of toppings and fixins and all the good stuff. Mexican because we have a nod to Mexican with those toppings. And then we're gonna put barbecue pork, pulled pork and barbecue sauce on it before we load it and finish it off with guacamole, hatch green chilies. We're gonna do that in the 3rd segment. Don't miss that, it's delicious. My kids loved it when I made it for them. And we just love these. There is a restaurant in Texas, as a matter of fact. Don't you have a friend? You may not have friends like I have, but when they go on trips or we go on trips and we know that they're foodie people, we text each other. And we're like, oh my gosh, you should eat at this restaurant. Or, oh my goodness, look at this dessert I just got. Do y'all do that? I do that. My friend Beth was on a trip to Dallas, and there's actually a barbecue restaurant in Dallas, and I can't remember the name of it. But she said, oh my goodness, you should see this sweet potato. And it had all kinds of stuff on it, and she was telling me all the things. And I thought, oh my word, I'm gonna totally make that at home because I may never get to that restaurant. But she told me enough about what was on it that I decided I was gonna make those myself. So I was really glad to have the friend, you know, the foodie friend who messages me and tells me what she's eating. I have people that do that a lot. A lot of my phone conversations or texts have to do with what people are eating. No, I know. I have an interesting little circle of people in my life, but we love food. Okay, so what I've got, just a can of black beans. You could put that in a colander if you wanted and rinse them, but I do the, you know, Brenda Nelson way. That's my mom. I just ran water in it, put my fingers over it, drained it, ran water over them again. You got just kind of that gunky kind of gravy off of those beans. So black beans, we're going to dump these in just a minute. And then we're going to use fresh corn. You could use frozen for a shortcut, but we're going to use fresh because it's summer and it's 11 cents like an ear, which is so cheap, y'all. And so we have some fresh corn. I actually got this at my grocery in kind of their fresh aisle. And the way that you choose fresh corn, I know that you stand there and you're like not exactly sure, is that you want to first feel around inside of these husks and these leaves on the outside. And you want to be sure that there aren't any holes because you want there to be sure that they're good, healthy kernels inside and good, healthy cobs loaded with kernels. And so if there are any places where it feels like there should be kernels, but they aren't, you know, there's some like spaces in there, then you don't want that. Also, these little tassels on the end, you want to be sure that they're really brown and that they're a little bit sticky. That means that they're fresher. If they are black and really dry, then that means the corn is not as fresh. And so that's how you'll know how to check. Doesn't that help a little bit? Because a lot of times we really want to buy this good fresh produce, but We're just not exactly sure how to choose it, and then sometimes we get it home and we're sorely disappointed, right? So what I'm doing is cutting these ends off, and we just want to get the corn off of these fresh cobs. And then what we're going to do, I'll turn around and get my, oh my goodness, I have to have my muscles, is we want to get our skillet going. I've got a little cast iron skillet back here in the back. Am I going? No. There we go. Get my cast iron skillet going on about medium high heat. Well, maybe medium, just medium because I'm using cast iron because it'll get extra hot. And what we're going to do is we're going to get these corn kernels off of this corn. And then we're going to give them a little toss around, like a little grilling in our hot cast iron skillet just to get a little color on them because it just tastes good. Then we're going to dump our black beans in there and just make a really easy little warmed black bean and corn mix. It's just going to be one of our layers of our flavor on our potato. So you just want to cut those ends off and pull all those husks back and then get those silks out. And I never mind having a couple of silks. It's not the end of the world. Tastes like growing up to me when you get the little bit of silk in there. Let's just do one of these for now. Okay? So I just put my corn down right on my cutting board and watch your fingers, and I just run my, oh, well, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. I'm going to get a sheet pan. I've done that before, and it worked beautifully. Okay, so, but y'all weren't watching, and that's why it worked. So when y'all are watching, it's crazy town. So I am going to cut these kernels off, and then I'm going to stir them around in my hot skillet, let them get just a little bit of color on them, and then all I'm going to do is throw my black beans in there and let that kind of warm up. Easy stuff. We'll finish that when we get back. I'm going to work on making a mess with this corn, and then when we come back, we're going to keep on making our mile-high Mexican barbecue sweet potatoes. This is Cooking Today. Hi, welcome back to Cooking Today. We're making mile-high Mexican barbecue sweet potatoes today. Lots of flavors, lots of fixings and toppings. Really, really good. Our sweet potatoes are cooking away in a 400-degree oven. All we did was poke holes in those with our forks and let those go for about 45 minutes, 45, 50, 60 minutes or so till they're tender. And then we have our pulled pork that we've warmed. We actually did takeout for it. You can make your own if you would like. I just threw corn all over the kitchen and had to clean that up in our break. We did fresh corn on the cob, cut off the silks and took off the husks and everything, and then just ran our knife right down there and got off the corn on just one cob. And then I have those heating in this little skillet. And so all I'm going to do to that, I wanted those just to get a little bit tender, but still be firm for just some texture and some bite. We don't want everything on this potato to be soft. We want there to have a little bit of some kind of a crunch in there. And so we did barely just cook our corn so that there's just a little bit of firm in that sweet bite. And then I have drained a can of black beans, and all I'm doing to this is stirring that in. Isn't that easy? Aren't these easy fixins? These are hearty and filling, and they're fun. I just love them. And I don't know about y'all, but especially when football season is kicking into gear, which you know we're on the heels of, and we barbecue a lot outside or takeout or whatever, or tailgate, we always seem to have a lot of extra pulled pork at our house in the fall. And so I am constantly looking for ideas on ways to use leftover barbecue. You could actually do these with brisket as well if you wanted to. Wouldn't that be delicious? I would love that. Okay, so our corn and our beans are heating, and so what we're going to make is this delicious Hatch green chili guacamole. And I'll tell you that this is almost like we're putting this recipe on this recipe, but this recipe alone is worth putting in your arsenal. It's really, really good, y'all. And you may want it. You may want to pluck this one right out of this episode and keep it and then just serve it with chips. It doesn't have to go on your potato. It's so good. So all I've got is 3 ripe avocados that I have halved. And then I am carefully making sure not to run the point of my knife through the back of the skin. I'm scoring my little bites right here inside of the avocado skin. I need to turn that down. I can hear those going. We don't want our corn to pop, do we? Actually, would it do that? I don't even know. I'm joking about that, but corn kernels wouldn't pop, right? Somebody can message us on Facebook and let us know, because I don't know. Okay, I'm going to throw a tiny pinch of salt in there, not a lot, because I don't want this to be a really salty bite because we've got the pork on there. Okay, so I'm taking a spoon and I'm running it down into there to get all my little squares out. See that? This is how I make like guacamole. Because I want there to be some bites, like some little cubed bites, but then I also want it to be mashed a little bit. I don't want it to be a complete and utter paste, like an avocado crema or anything like that. And then that's how you get an avocado pit out, you know. I think I've shown y'all that about, oh, I don't know, 1,000 times on here. And so you just pop your knife in there, but then you do want to be sure to have a paper towel handy to pull those off your knife. You do not want to put your hand on the end of your knife. That would not be good. So let's talk about hatch green chilies. They are special, and my kids are like, why do you talk about those so much, and why do you love those so much? Because you can only get them a certain time of year, and they are really good. I am a little bit of a spicy wimp. Like, my family really loves it. I find myself somewhere in the middle, so they're a little bit sweet, but then they've got just enough heat that they please my palate. You know, like, I want a little heat, but I really can't do it too hot, and they're just right to me. So I actually get mine at Whole Foods when they come in, because they have really, really good ones. But you can get them whole, and you can roast them yourself, like in your oven. Or you can even lay them over we did that before on here as well. You can lay them over the open flame on your gas stove and get them really nice and yummy. I happen to already have some roasted for me, and I've gone ahead and chopped them, and then we're just storing them in our fridge like this. And they are about to make this guacamole the best guacamole ever. So I'm gonna finish this. When we come back and we wrap up, we're gonna yummy up our guacamole with our chilies, and our potatoes are gonna be finished, and then all we have to do is pile everything on. Mile high. This is Cooking Today. Hi, welcome back. We're just wrapping up Mile High Mexican barbecue sweet potatoes. How about that? I told you there were lots of fixings. This is so easy and hearty and pretty. We baked our sweet potatoes, cut it open, popped our corners to make it kind of open up really, really well. We are gonna do our cheese right down inside of our sweet potato, because we want it to be under all the warm things so that it will melt. We're gonna have to get this guy open, okay? Some cheese, that's just medium cheddar. Then all we have here, just warmed black bean and corn with a little salt. There's not any special seasoning on it or anything. Okay, we're gonna put this down inside there, and the heat from that is gonna help melt our cheese between the potatoes and the corn. Then we have our barbecue, y'all. Look at this. So we have our pulled pork. I told you this is gonna be one you wanna put your shirt on, your napkin and your shirt. Of course you're gonna wanna put your shirt on. Maybe you don't. Maybe this will make you be, you know, a wild and crazy person. I don't know, because it's that good. So, pulled pork. Then I have a little squirt of barbecue sauce. Look at this. We're gonna do a little barbecue sauce right on top, a drizzle, because you can't have pulled pork without barbecue sauce. And then we have our Hatch green chili guacamole. We've got lime juice in here. We have our avocados. I'm doing many tablespoons of roasted Hatch green chilies to give it some zing and some heat. A couple of dashes of hot sauce. And then we're gonna stir in just a little bit of sour cream so that that creaminess just kind of helps set off the heat and the spicy pepperiness of our chilies. This alone is worth putting out with chips. This on top, when we finish this potato, is gonna send you over the moon. It is so good. We're gonna top it with a little more cheese, maybe a little more sour cream, and some cilantro for our Mile High Mexican barbecue sweet potato. I hope you'll try it at home. Love all the bites. There's a lot to love. This is Cooking Today.